developed the Zonar rating system based on co-worker feedback in order to digitally track the work performance of the company's 5,000-some employees. A union-friendly foundation examined the Zonar system. Their study showed that the sensation of total surveillance it creates damaged the working environment. And yet, more and more companies are favoring digital monitoring and workers with flexible availability. Under these circumstances, workers can hardly defend their interests.
We're dealing with a kind of digital early capitalism. It's as if new digital factories were popping up. There's no regulation. So we need a process involving labor struggles. And they're already happening.
For example, Google employees are trying to organize in unions. They say the company has been blocking them. Some even report having been sacked. But the company denies this.
I actually recognize many developments in this digital platform economy that we know from the history of the workers' movement. Of course, the Uber drivers today are organized very differently, in Facebook groups, and they call wildcat strikes. They're a kind of postmodern union movement, and I think that's a positive development. I definitely welcome it.
So there's still hope. But many of these checks and balances are already part of labor law, at least in Germany. But the large internet corporations are not too happy about them. The four tech giants, Google, Apple, Facebook and Amazon, or GAFA, operate worldwide and set themselves above national regulation. In most countries, they can avoid taxes and use their monopolies to their advantage. National data protection laws are just a nuisance to them. And they don't like taking responsibility for what happens on their sites. They have a watertight defense. For years, they've insisted that they're just intermediaries or that their sites are neutral marketplaces. Of course, that's not really the case, says Timo Daum.
What's special about these platforms is that the ones who set them up are the rulers there. They decide the rules. And they're also the ones active in these markets they themselves created. For example, Amazon is a provider on the marketplace that it has created worldwide. So it's not just the referee, but at the same time, it's also a player.
There are two main reasons why the GAFA Big Four dominate the markets. One is the network effect. That is, a service's usefulness increases disproportionately with the number of participants. The more, the merrier. Then there's the feedback effect. The bigger the site, the more data it can collect to optimize its system. And that makes the site even more attractive to users. Google and co. are hugely successful in securing their monopolies. According to major Silicon Valley investor Peter Thiel, competition is for losers. There's just no way around digital capitalists. Or is there?
In India, small businesses are fighting back against Amazon. India's powerful shopkeepers union has been trying to block Amazon's entry into their billion-euro market with protests, as well as legal and political action. The battle's yet to be decided. Meanwhile, China simply locked the tech giant out with its enormous firewall.
They've been pursuing quite a radical protectionism, and I'd have to say, very successfully. In the world's largest domestic market, the Chinese counterparts to Silicon Valley's digital corporations have been a huge success and have gathered an immense number of users. So they get this algorithmic feedback effect in a very pronounced way. The Chinese model is pushing digital capitalism very hard in its vast market.
The overwhelming power big multinational tech firms hold also challenges nation-states. Western politicians are still looking for the right approach, and the EU has imposed steep antitrust penalties. American politicians like Elizabeth Warren or Bernie Sanders are even calling for the internet tech giants to be broken up.
That's a lofty promise. And by the way, 7 of the 10 most highly valued corporations worldwide are tech firms. Apple, Microsoft, Alphabet, Amazon, Facebook, the Chinese e-commerce group Alibaba, and Tencent, which owns TikTok. Their market dominance seems unshakable. Except for Apple and Microsoft, All these companies have been around for less than 25 years. In just a short time, they've become the biggest players in the world market. And their main resources are intangible. They include user data and algorithms. But would it really change anything if we broke up large corporations? What then? Wouldn't new players just take over the market and we'd be back where we started?
Formally, these platforms are markets, but since they're part of our digital infrastructure, the classical market mechanisms no longer apply. These platforms should be treated as a public service and be a freely available infrastructure.
Should Facebook and Google be nationalized? And should digital infrastructure be freely available, just like roads and rails, without private corporations raking in outrageous profits? Would digital capitalism have to make way for digital communism? I'd say we are moving into a stormy transition. Radical social change has always had profound consequences for individuals. The same went for the Industrial Revolution. In time, workers managed to fight for some of their rights. Will the digital revolution be similar? What do you think? Will we soon end up as underpaid click workers, or will the digital revolution have positive effects on most of our lives? Let us know what you think on YouTube, Facebook, or on dw.com. And I'll see you there. Till then, bye-bye.
On this special edition of Shift, we explore how algorithms influence our lives. Algorithms have been around for a long time, but in the age of big data and digitalization, they're becoming ever more important and powerful. Are we letting algorithms think for us? What are algorithms? That's actually quite simple. An algorithm is a clear process or set of rules to follow to solve a problem. Assembly instructions, for example. Step by step, they tell us what to do. If we follow them, we should achieve the desired result, assuming the instructions are good, but that's another story. Algorithms have probably existed for as long as people could think. For example, the algorithm for computing square roots, known as Heron's method, was known to the Babylonians. So mathematical algorithms were already known in ancient times. One famous example is Pythagoras' theorem. It states that in a right-angled triangle, the square of the hypotenuse is equal to the sum of the squares of the other two sides. In other words, a squared plus b squared equals c squared. So if you know the length of two sides, you can work out the length of the other. But where does the word algorithm come from? It's named after Al-Khwarizmi, a Persian scholar. Around the year 825, he taught people how to perform written calculations using Arabic numerals. These algorithms are still the ones we learn in school today, as long as calculators don't put an end to mental math. How do computers use algorithms? Basically, every computer program is an algorithm, which tells the processor precisely how to utilize the incoming stream of data. And now, algorithms are even capable of learning. Oliver Reinbach conducts research on machine learning algorithms and thinks society needs to regulate their implementation. What we should hope to achieve is having certain standards, algorithms that are free of discrimination. How we achieve that is something that we as a society must be prepared to fight for. How do algorithms work on the internet? Tech giants like Google, Amazon, and Facebook, and government agencies employ intelligent algorithms. Otherwise, they couldn't handle the huge streams of data. But their eagerness to collect masses of data raises questions. Our activities on the internet are recorded and analyzed using algorithms. The intelligent software ascertains our interests and our buying habits. It uses these to create a personal profile that becomes clearer the more we reveal about ourselves. As a result, the ads and info we see are tailored to us. We think of the internet as a tool to communicate with the whole world, yet its algorithms often show us a mere reflection of ourselves. Our worldview is constantly being confirmed through what's known as filter bubbles, which you also have in social networks. That's a problem for democracies and people of voting age, as they no longer get to see the complete spectrum of public opinion. What should we do? Often we have a choice about which data we divulge and where we get our information. So remain critical and use a variety of sources. Algorithms are supposed to make decisions that are free of human error. But algorithms are far from neutral. Are their prejudices even pre-programmed? Google the word secretary, and the search engine calls up stereotypical results. Secretaries are almost exclusively women, at least according to the algorithm. CEOs are male. Nurses are female. These prejudiced algorithms have huge implications, for example, on the job market. Women receive more suggestions for lower-paying jobs than men, shown in a study by a U.S. university. But Catherine Jarmuel says algorithms aren't solely to blame, because they're programmed and fed by humans.
An algorithm learns because we train it using machine learning. So either whether it's deep learning with a neural network, so to speak, or it's shallow machine learning, we're feeding it data and we're asking it to form an opinion. And of course, when that opinion is based on data that has unfair treatment of groups, then the algorithm will very much learn this.
Like translation software, if the millions of texts that teach it mention more female than male kindergarten teachers, the algorithm learns and remembers that. Picture recognition learns from large image databases. Here you find more pictures of women in a kitchen than men. And so the algorithm learns to associate women with kitchens. Changing that is tough and time-consuming. The coding is often top secret, so it's difficult to prove an algorithm is prejudiced. The Themis program can check for discrimination. It simulates fake accounts that are identical in everything but gender.
Accountability, transparency, and fairness are really the future of machine learning, and we need to make them trustworthy, and we need to allow people to ask questions of how they work and allow people to see how they're operating and how they're trained.
To eliminate prejudice in algorithms, it'll take more social awareness and human intervention. For a long time, it was considered an impossible task, sequencing the wheat genome. But now an international research team has done just that, with the help of algorithms. Over 200 researchers from 20 countries worked together to discover bread wheat's DNA. In Science magazine, they reported how they were able to sequence over 100,000 genes. Wheat has 5 times more genes than humans, so the researchers developed special algorithms to help them. Bioinformatician Manuel Spannagel took part in the project. In recent years, new algorithms were developed specially to piece together the different fragments of the genome. They really helped us to create a coherent sequence out of this huge pile of puzzle pieces. The researchers hope this will help them breed new wheat varieties that are more resistant to climate change. We have to make it more adaptable to different climatic conditions, for example, longer periods of drought, and possibly longer periods of heavy rain as well. Along with rice, wheat is considered the world's most important foodstuff. Experts warn that wheat yields must increase if we're to satisfy the hunger of Earth's growing population. The sequencing of the bread wheat genome is a major step in that direction. Can algorithms predict the next bestseller? A startup hopes to use its software to help publishers fish out the most promising manuscripts in a matter of seconds. What novels will fly off the bookstore shelves, and which ones won't? A piece of software named Qualifiction is supposed to be able to predict which manuscript will become the next bestseller.
The idea came from hearing from many publishers and authors too, that much of the huge amount of material that's submitted each year in Germany doesn't even get read, simply because it would take too many people to do so.
The AI software rates stories according to their sales potential. Using 100,000 books and their sales figures, the program learned to recognize a bestseller. Sentence by sentence, test readers fed it with successful novels and rated them. The criteria included sentence length, suspense, vocabulary, and emotions. We take a book and divide it into its literary components. We explore what kind of themes the work uses. What is its dramatic arc? What style of language or constellation of characters is employed? And using all these characteristics, we make a final rating. Several publishers are currently testing the software, including small Hamburg-based publisher Feuerwerke. Its director and one editor regularly wade through mountains of manuscripts. Say we get sent 100 manuscripts. You can be pretty sure that a lot of these can be filtered out because they're not suitable for formal reasons, say. If the software manages to filter out that 10 to 20%, then that would be a great help. But after that, separating the wheat from the chaff is really all about the little details. Rohrer says people will always be needed to work closely with the authors. Many in the publishing business are critical of the software, including Kirsten Reimers, who's worked as a book editor for 25 years.
If lots of publishers start using it, I fear there will be more mass-market literature released, more things that cater to the mass market. That's happening already. But I'm afraid it will only get worse, and that really innovative, different, and surprising works will fall by the wayside.
The founders say fears that the book market could become less diversified are unfounded.
We think the opposite is true. It will likely lead to more diversity because publishers have the opportunity to assess whether something might really succeed, as it contains many elements that are really new and work well.
Christian Günther moonlights as a writer of dark fantasy novels and sees the software as an opportunity for authors like himself. It could help him learn how to better reach his target audience and tell him if it's worth investing in marketing. Günther sent his latest work to Qualifiction for analysis.
It's a bit darker than normal. This is the average. You're a bit more intense. Here you can see that you manage to maintain the suspense, but over time you get more and more extreme. In almost every respect, you meet the target group's expectations.
The algorithm thinks Christian Günther's novel has a 23% chance of becoming a bestseller.
You need to look at it from the view of a publisher looking to appeal to a mass audience. And for that, it's a pretty good rating.
Oh, sehr schön, das freut mich.
Not bad for an unknown writer. Qualifiction was designed to help publishers who lack the time to read all of the manuscripts they receive. But authors also appreciate the software's feedback. For all its apparent prejudices, at least we can say that AI doesn't judge a book by its cover.
Latest entrant, latest technology. Welcome to Intel 4G LTE Advanced and experience super fast internet access today. Visit Intel.com.ng or any of our stores in Lagos, Abuja, and Port Harcourt to get started. Intel. Live more.
You must be very strong! The Big Deal Show. Get ready for interesting drama series. Mike, go and look for my daughter. My daughter got missing. And the next thing you came home with a car.
I want you to have a son for my husband.
What? Chris, are you mad? Is something wrong with you?
Daddy, I'm not mad. And besides, the question you asked me doesn't make sense.
How dare you? How dare you sleep with my daughter?
You're the one who said you're not going to give him anything. So he came to me now. Eh? What's the problem?
You're mad. We also feature a unique contest titled Niger Voice Contest. With this contest, we want to find out the people with the most amazing natural voices in Nigeria. Prizes will be won every quarter and in the grand finale. So if you can sing, here is the opportunity that you've been waiting for to become a star. For more details, don't miss any episode of The Big Deal Show on this station. For sponsorship or advert details, please call any of the numbers on the screen. Don't miss it.
My name is Ben, and of course, you know what we do on Automedics. We are service providers that give solution to your automotive-related problems. And we give you opportunity to also call in the program while we analyze some critical issues in the automotive repair sector. And I also have LJ here with me. Good morning to you, LJ. Mm-hmm. And what do we really have to, as topic of discuss before we go on the break and then come back again and start discussing the issue?
Well, it's something that will be very beneficial for our viewers this morning.
Okay.
And it has to do with car maintenance, the recommendations by the manufacturers.
All right.
What they actually recommend.
All right, you get it right there. And we'll be back after this short break. Don't go away. We'll be back.
You can actually drive your vehicle without engine oil for 50 kilometers. This is very, very achievable, all thanks to Polytron. Still a doubting Thomas? Let our technician prove this to you.
We are about to drain the engine oil of this car to see the power of Polytron, the product that has nanotechnology buried in it, because we believe that Polytron is already working in it. And after doing that, put the car together and we'll drive it around.
Now that you have seen the power of Polytron, buy a bottle today to increase the lifespan of your engine, reduce fuel consumption, save cost also on expensive repairs.
Strong communication skills, good diagnostic skills, problem-solving skills, solid work ethics, strong technical aptitude, and up-to-date technology. Watch Automedics on your reach-out station as we provide clear-cut solutions to your automobile problems. Automedics, showing every Wednesday at 11:30 a.m. with a repeat broadcast at 11:30 a.m. on Saturdays. Automedics, the best hands on your automobile.
Welcome back to the show. Still Automedics show reaching you from NTA2. And LJ, before we went on our break, we were talking about the car maintenance, or let's say vehicle maintenance. Some of the recommendations by the manufacturer. What are we actually talking about here?
All right, we're looking at what the manufacturer really say about some of the things we carry out in our vehicle.
Okay.
Definitely, if you have been using your vehicle for a while, you know very well that you usually carry out certain kind of services. You just keep it running all the time. And some of these services, sometimes we even carry it out the way the manufacturer did not recommend it. And that's why we are here this morning to clearly educate you on how you should carry out these services. And one of the very popular one is the lubrication service. Changing
one major area where a lot of people get it wrong.
Yes. Changing your oil and your oil filter. As simple as this may sound, it's very possible for you to lose your engine or even lose the value or quality of your engine over carrying.
Just doing the loop service.
From doing the loop service, doing it in the wrong way. For instance, a lot of people have this belief that you only need to service the vehicle once in a year. Just change the oil once in a year, and all year round
you drive the vehicle, come rain or shine.
Yes. Now that is a very wrong impression. Actually, what manufacturers usually recommend when it comes to the period it will take before you change your oil and oil filter, they also consider tolerance. The kind of environment you're driving the vehicle, if you're always stuck in traffic, or if you're always driving on a freeway, all these are some of the things the manufacturer they consider. And then they will give you their own recommendation. Typically, they will tell you 6,000 kilometers or 4,000 kilometers.
Now, talking about the service interval now.
Yes.
What is recommended by the manufacturer, I mean, in the manual, is that an ideal situation we're looking at here?
Yes, it is an ideal situation because the manufacturers, when they finish building the car, they don't drive the car all year round to go through traffic, to go through pond of water, to go through flood and all that. No, they don't do that.
So the feedback has to come from
the feedback has to come from you. So, but they usually run a test on the car. And these are all in a controlled condition where they're actually controlling what is happening. They put it on a smooth road, on a rough road that they put together and all that, and they come up with their result. Their result will just give an idea, which is an ideal result. But it's not the reality of what would actually happen. And that's why sometimes we actually come down a bit from the manufacturer's recommendation. For instance, the manufacturer tells you, okay, every 6,000 kilometers, you should go ahead and change your engine oil and oil filter, carry out the lubrication service. We will tell you, if you know you always drive through traffic, you spend long hours in traffic and the car is not moving and it's just burning out oil, cut it down to about 4,000 kilometers. Because when you're in traffic, your speedometer doesn't count.
And the odometer will not read.
The odometer will not read. But the engine is running.
With air conditioner on.
With air conditioner on, with all that working. Now the manufacturer, when he says, when he said 6,000 kilometers, he meant driving the car all the time. It didn't mean sitting down in traffic, the odometer not counting anything, but the engine life running out and the engine oil itself running out. So considering that, we will tell you, okay, do it at 4,000 kilometers. But what the manufacturer actually recommended was 6,000 kilometers. Now, because of tolerance, we're telling you do it at 4,000 kilometers, considering the traffic situation. Now, some people would have the impression that, no, let's do it at 10,000, 12,000 kilometers and all that. When you do that, the oil in the engine tends to kick up and turn into sludge. So at the end of the day, when you try to change the oil, you just be wringing out grease from the engine. So and if you don't want that to happen, I think you should first of all find out your manufacturer's recommendation and then come down a bit because of
give some tolerance.
Yes, to give some tolerance because of the present conditions.
Okay, now that is about loop service.
Yes. Then apart from loop service, there is also the issue of changing your belts. Now, the manufacturer gives you a recommendation.
Now, when you go into belts, I want us to actually look at them in two perspectives now. When you mention belt generally, you know the one that scares me most?
The timing belt?
The timing belt.
Yes. The timing belt should scare you the most because the timing belt is more like the muscle that puts all your engines together, all the parts of your engine together, the upper part and the lower part. The timing belt puts them together. And once that belt snaps, the engine is loose.
Exactly.
So there is no way the engine can continue running without the belt there. That's for the timing belt.
Yeah.
Then you also have the accessory belt or drive belt.
Yeah.
That's the one that drives all the other accessories, such as your compressor, your AC compressor, your alternator, your water pump, and all the other accessories you have on the engine. That's called the accessory belt or the drive belt. Now, for all of these belts, you have different recommended periods that they're supposed to last. And the manufacturer always do this with distance covered or after certain months.
Yeah.
So after those months or the distance, whichever one comes first, you're supposed to take the car in and have them changed.
But I'm looking at a scenario where, you know, like, let me take it from the area of the timing belt now, because I said that one scares me a lot.
Yeah.
A lot of people wait until their belt snaps.
Exactly.
And then it creates another problem, depending if the engine is interference or no interference.
Yes.
Now, what is the precaution that a lot of people need to take, most especially if the engine is driven by belt?
If the engine is driven by belt, make sure your car is properly serviced. Because one of the ways that the belt always shortens its life is when the engine starts to gather too much sludge and starts to seize up.
That is resistive, the camshaft becomes
too hard, yes, too resistive for the belt to carry. This will cause the belt to snap. That's another sign that the belt is worn out. Regular. You need to get your technician involved to check it. Now remember, these belts, most of them are not adjustable. If it is adjustable, the mechanic can go ahead and adjust increase the tension, and you continue using it. But because it's not adjustable, a simple thing to do will be to have it replaced. Now, as for the manufacturer's recommendation for this, for the timing belt, most manufacturers always recommend about 60,000 kilometers for you to run around with the timing belt before you have it replaced. Then as for the drive belt, at about 30,000, 40,000 kilometers, you can have it inspected. If you find cracks and all that, you could have it replaced for the belt.
You know what I actually, in my own opinion, what I actually believe in when it has to do with things that are critical like this is inspect it, forget about what the manufacturer tells you. Because there are also different qualities of belts in the market.
Yes.
You know, the manufacturer is actually telling you in an ideal situation using the OEM recommended parts. Now you go to the market and you buy a part that the standard is not up to the OEM, and you expect it to last that long.
Definitely there will be
That is where there will be issues. So for me, I think common sense will play out here. At every point in time, or whenever you take your vehicle for service, it should be inspected and then the condition known. If you need to replace it immediately, or it will get to the next service. That is what I think.
Yes, that would do a lot of good, where you can easily just have your technician say, okay, please, you're going to change your engine oil and all that. Could you just go ahead and help me inspect? Now, you know, I think one of these days we're going to have a topic on this show where we define clearly the difference between inspecting and repairing.
Exactly.
Inspection doesn't take as much effort as repairing, but it saves you the cost of repairs. When it's inspected. Oh, madam, this thing is beginning to go bad. Oh, sir, this thing is beginning to go bad. You probably have another 1 month or thereabout on this item, so you should get yourself ready. So if you know you're capable of replacing it at that point, you could just tell them, okay, go ahead and replace this, so it doesn't get bad and then cause another problem, another failure.
All right. While we're discussing this issue too, you can also place a call. We'll also treat your questions when you call into the show. Now, we just mentioned 2 items now. That is the lubrication area and then the belts.
Yes.
What other items?
There are other array of items, such as your filters. Now, these ones, they are very important as well.
Very important.
Now, looking at filters, there are several kinds of filters you have in your vehicle. There is the oil filter, there is the fuel filter, there is the cabin filter, there is the air filter. But the 2 we're going to specifically talk about this morning is concerning the air filter and the cabin filter.
Because, of course, if you're going to do a loop service, the oil filter is going to go along with it. So we discussed that already.
Yes, and the way they create fuel pump these days, you can't just be changing the filter alone.
Exactly.
It takes a very long period of time before you ever have to do such. Maybe 150 or 120,000 kilometers before you go close to your fuel pump. So this morning we'll be looking at the air filter and the cabin filter. The air filter is responsible for filtering the air that goes into the engine.
breathing into the nostrils.
Yeah, definitely. So, and most times the performance of your engine can be determined by the air, the quality and the quantity of air that is getting into the engine.
Yeah.
If you don't have enough air going in, or you're having unfiltered air going into the engine, then there is a problem. One way to even easily just ruin an engine is to run it without an air filter.
Because all the dirt, the dust, everything.
In a dusty environment, just drive the car without the air filter in a dusty environment and give it or take 2 months, 3 months.
The engine will wear out.
The engine will wear out because all the sand and dust from the environment will be taken into the manifold. From the manifold, it will distribute them surplusly to the different cylinders, and those sand will actually wear out the walls.
Just like some paper in the cylinder walls.
So wear out the walls, and before you know, the engine is smoking already. So to avoid that, make sure your air filter is properly inspected. Sometimes the air filter is already bad and it's choking the engine up because it's not allowing enough air to
pass through. I think that is the reason why some people actually take off the filter, because they find it clogged up, and then by removing it, they find out the vehicle is performing
very well.
And they feel they can run it without a filter.
Well, that's dangerous. That's very expensive. So what you should do is get another air filter, replace it, instead of just leaving it like that. Now, there are simple maintenance tips you can have. For instance, when the oil is being changed, when you're having the lubrication service, you could actually take out the filter and have it dusted. Most times they are built to just absorb dust, and you can heat it maybe on the wheel or have high pressure compressed air.
Okay, while LG is on, while we're still discussing this, like I said, you can start calling into the program, and we'll also take your questions, viewers' questions. We'll take them on this show. When you're having issues with your vehicle, the experiences, what you're having with your vehicle, just let us know here while we're discussing critical issues that have to do with the automobile. And the numbers will be scrolling on your screen, but let me just say them out here. 0701 627 2025. 0701 627 2025. We'll pick up your calls.
So the air filter. Now, you can easily have it cleaned, especially while doing the lubrication service. Just take it out, dust it properly, or get compressed air, use it to blow the dust out of it, and then you replace it back. You can do that for as far as 6 months or 8 months, and then eventually you take that out and bring in a new one.
Now, talking about the air filter now, I'm also looking at the situation. Is it just about replacing just air filters? Because they have different paper materials.
Yes.
The microns of the filter, some could be so tight that air will pass through with difficulty.
Yes.
I'm sure you've actually seen some filter that collapse as a result of that.
Yes, and that's why sometimes manufacturers have performance filter.
Okay, hold it there. Let's pick this call from Chinedu. Hello, Chinedu, are you there?
Hello.
Chinedu, good morning.
Good morning, sir.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, can you...
I still want to people ask.
Okay.
I want to ask some questions.
Go ahead, we can hear you.
My question goes like this.
Okay.
My question goes like this. About the timing belt.
Yes.
The man you people discussed about. The timing belt,
yeah.
If the timing belt expires,
yes,
and the air condition belt,
yeah,
how can we, without it costing us, how can we discover and change it up before the damage come up?
Okay, you're talking about the timing belt now here.
Because that timing belt.
Okay.
Because that timing belt, if you cut, it will just timing and condense some certain things.
Yeah, that's for sure.
And another question is this. Air filter.
Yeah.
The air filter, some people have their vehicle for 10 to 20 years, they will not think about changing air filter or removing it.
Yeah.
And sometimes some mechanics will go and remove the air filter without replacing another one.
Yeah.
And the owner will be driving the motor like that.
All right.
And the third one.
Yeah.
How long or how many minutes can somebody stay with vehicle in the morning before he moves?
Oh, okay. All right. We've noted the questions from Chinedu from Banana Island. But what we're going to do now, we'll go on a short break. When we come back, we'll be answering those questions. Okay, LJ, let's. He has some questions that were actually answered during our explanations here. Yeah. But for the benefit of him and others too, let us expatiate on these those issues.
Okay, basically he picked the timing belt, the drive belt. Yeah. How do you get to know that it's time to change them so you don't have issues? We said every time you go for your service, which is something you do regularly, when you get there for the service, you can speak with the technician. Please, after changing the oil and oil filter, I want to have you inspect the timing belt. Yeah. Now, there are inspection holes that are on the timing belt cover. When an engine is using timing belt, you would usually have a plastic cover around it.
Exactly.
If it is a chain, you'll have a metal that is totally sealed up because it's chain. Yeah. It can't break up easily. Yeah. So with the timing belt plastic all over it, you can just open the inspection hole and then
have
see
a view
of what the belt looks like.
Yeah.
Now, when they view the belt, if the belt has cracks all over it already, this is a clear sign that the belt is due for change. That's a case where you've not been following the manufacturer's recommended period for replacing it. By looking at the belt, the technician will be able to tell you that, sir, the belt is already about to pack up.
All right, then. Just hold it there. Let's come back from this break, and then we'll answer the rest of the question.
You can actually drive your vehicle without engine oil for 50 kilometers. This is very, very achievable, all thanks to Polytron. Still a doubting Thomas? Let our technician prove this to you.
We are about to drain the engine oil of this car to see the power of Polytron, the product that has nanotechnology buried in it, because we believe that Polytron is already working in it. And after doing that, put the car together and we'll drive it around.
Now that you have seen the power of Polytron, buy a bottle today to increase the lifespan of your engine, reduce fuel consumption, save cost also on expensive repairs.
Strong communication skills, good diagnostic skills, problem-solving skills, solid work ethics, strong technical aptitude, and up-to-date technology. Watch Automedics on your reach-out station as we provide clear-cut solutions to your automobile problems. Automedics, showing every Wednesday at 11:30 a.m. with a repeat broadcast at 11:30 a.m. on Saturdays. Automedics, the best hands on your automobile.
You're welcome again back to Automedics Show, and we're still discussing Chinedu's questions here. Yes. And I think we really need to wrap it up on this to make it very clear. He mentioned damages that could occur when the timing belt breaks. What are the likely problems that
we already talked about that. We said the timing belt is more like the muscle that that holds the engine together. The upper part of the engine where you have the camshaft and the lower part where you have the crankshaft. The timing belt actually synchronizes the both of them to move in harmony together. Meaning if that belt breaks, the crankshaft could just be going on its own and nothing happens. So at that point, a whole lot of damages could occur.
What are the likely damages?
If it is an interference engine, you would have valves and pistons in danger of breaking off. You could have a cylinder head crack from the valve guard. There are so many of all these damages, mechanical damages, that could actually occur when the timing belt breaks like that. Now, to avoid that, we said there are timing belt inspection holes on the body of the engine that around the area where you have the timing belt. You just have to open the lid and have a view of the belt with light. And when you see the belt, if there are no cracks on it and it still looks fresh, you can go on. If there are cracks on it, you have it replaced. That is if you've not been following the manufacturer's recommended interval for replacement, which is about 60,000 kilometers. Then he asked the second question. He was saying
the filters.
That some mechanic take off the filter and allow the engine
to run like that.
Sometimes, some vehicles, I'll take for example the older Honda Pilot that has the air filter box screwed down. It's always a pain losing all the bolts to get the air filter out. That's why I think this usually happens.
Well, I'm looking at a situation whereby maybe on purpose, because the mechanic can actually put the air filter, properly, and then makes it to run like that, or a situation whereby the air filter is bad, and then they probably won't get a replacement immediately, and then they forgot to put it back. The consequences, that is what we're looking at before we run.
The consequences are really, really fatal, because at the end of the day, you are dust getting into the engine, insects and all that will get into the engine, and they go straight into the cylinders. And when they get there, they're going to do a whole lot of damage. So you don't want that to happen to your engine. Sure. And there are ways you would actually notice that your air filter is not there. Every owner of a vehicle knows the sound he gets from his engine every time you put the engine on. Yeah. Once you see the sound has changed, check your air filter, it's probably not there, or the catalytic converter has been removed. Yeah,
so it will sound a hollow sort of.
Then to answer Chinedu's last question, he was saying, how long do you have to run the engine in the morning before you take off? If you're driving a modern car from 2001 all the way up, you don't need to warm your engine up in the morning, except if you have been treating that car with the old tradition of using the wrong oil and all that, so you need to warm it up. But if you've been following manufacturers' recommended tips and everything, you just start and drive off.
Thank you very much, LJ. And this is where we draw the curtain on the show today, Automedics. We'll be back next week, but the repeat broadcast will be on Saturday. So stay tuned next time, and we'll be sure to give you qualitative answers to your question. Have a blessed day.
In setting up an
You are watching NTA2. watching NTA2.
Men travel around the world after herbs that may grow anywhere. Having not met before, herbs are brought together. Their marriages always give surprises. Herbs and men meet in various ways. Differing in look or origin, herb marriages showcase the wisdom of the Chinese and of traditional Chinese medicine. It's chilly in lunar January, South Shanxi province. The Lantern Festival is to come, while Yang Xiaoping has to go back to work in Yuncheng. In the vast wilderness, the workers set up a production line. They know what they're doing. Collecting the snow, overlaying the ground. Translucent and shimmering. The snow doesn't melt in the palm. It's not crystals of frozen water, but of salt. Mirabilitum is the crystal of sulfate. Cold in property, tasting salty and bitter, it helps purge the bowels to remove heat, moisten dryness, soften hard masses, clear internal heat, and relieve swelling. It's a common cathartic to treat abdominal distension and pain and constipation. Today, mirabilitum can be produced artificially. Natural mirabilitum, however, is a valuable gift from Mother Nature. A 1,000 miles away in Wuning of Jiangxi province, 73-year-old Xia Fuzhong is buying watermelons. However, this buyer is quite special. He's looking for melons of regular shape and weighing less than 5 kilograms. He's making a popular and effective drug. Watermelon frost, first recorded in an encyclopedia of ulcers by Gu Shicheng 200 years ago, helps clear away heat, purges pathogenic fire, disperses swelling and relieves pain. It's a magic cure for swelling and sore throat. Yet it's rarely known that the frost comes from the marriage between watermelon and mirabilitum. There are two ways to make traditional watermelon frost. Put mirabilitum in a crock. Then watermelon slices layer by layer. Or use the melon itself as the container of mirabilitum. Crock or melon, the container must be sealed up and put in the cool shade. Later, something amazing will happen on the surface of the containers. The rest of the work will be done by time. 7 days have gone by. Watermelon frost refers to the fine mirabilitum crystals precipitated out of the juice of watermelons. Watermelon helps cool down summer heat, and mirabilitum clears away heat and purges pathogenic fire. The marriage of the two produces synergy. The frost, as fine as snow, can be blown to the throat to mitigate swells. It's popularly known as a blown drug. Shafu Zhong is contented to make the drug with his own hands and guard the health of the family. In July, in Chaoshan region, Guangdong province, 67-year-old Wu Yonghan takes his grandson to pick herbs. The boy's on his summer holiday. To find quality herbs, pickers must go beyond the mountains one after another. This is quite a challenge to a boy on his first adventure. The dozen-kilometre-long mountain road sees Wu dozens of times a year. Finally, they see the herb, not far ahead. This is the major material of Laoshan Oldenlandia water, Oldenlandia diffusa. Fairy tales have it that long-nosed pit vipers love to drink dew from the herb. According to a collection of herbs in Guangxi, the herb helps clear away heat and toxins, promotes blood circulation and urination. The herb, boiled with other materials, produces one of the most popular drinks in the region. Fresh herbs are mixed properly and put into clear water. Heated with moderate fire, the herb extracts are taken by the water. Take a sip. It dispels heat and relieves mental and physical stresses. In June, in Pujiang County, Sichuan Province, the time-honored land is veiled in a slight mist. Waving and swinging, a blue cloth comes out of the ripples. Han Shan, born in a Miao village in Guizhou, observes the ancient process of herbal dyeing. The pigments come from nature, roots, stalks, leaves and bark. He prefers indigo. Last year's dye is running out. Han Shan sets off to find a herb. The bluegrass Han Shan is looking for is Strobilanthes cusia. Its root is a commonly used herb called isatis root. It helps clear away heat and toxins, cools down the blood and removes acne. Han Shan spends a day picking bluegrass, but even this much couldn't dye a single shirt. He left home at the age of 18, dreaming of becoming a painter. He spent 15 years traveling around the country trying to gain insights into the world and into his heart.
走了这么大一圈，我最终选择了和母亲一样的事情，就是做一个染布的人。
He chops bluegrass and dips the slices in water for fermentation. The addition of lime water segregates the pigments. The mixture is now green and yellow. He stirs the mixture. An incredible conversion begins. All of a sudden, blue bubbles emerge. A new substance comes into being. The blue substance, after being precipitated and dried, is indigo naturalis. Indigo naturalis refers to the dry powder, clump or granule from the leaves or stalks of bluegrass, indigo plant or Isatis tinctoria. It helps clear away heat and toxins, cools down the blood, removes acne, purges pathogenic fire and arrests convulsion. According to ancient physicians, indigo naturalis is made of bluegrass and lime, thus smells slightly different from and outmatches bluegrass in stanching bleeding, detoxicating and killing parasites. Hanshan puts the product in a jar. He'll preserve it. Indigo naturalis will be purified by time. Days pass. Hanshan stays calm.
可以到河边去读读书，然后或者是泡上一壶茶，或者自己采摘一点野菜，炒上2个小菜，喝一杯酒啊，这也是我们每天的生活。在这种缓缓的时间里去等待它的发酵成长。
Hearing the sound of silent herbs is the way of self-cultivation. He paints with a copper tool and beeswax. Batik is a presentation of blue dyeing. He paints his wishes on plain cloth and will fill the sketches with a blue sea. This is the crucial moment. The vigor awakes and surprises the world. In Suzhou, Jiangsu province, Xie Qinghong's family sets off in the morning. They're looking for a commonly seen yet effective herb. Those are earthworms in the soil. In Chinese herbal science, the earthworm is called Barentima. Salty in taste and cold in property, it helps clear away heat, arrest convulsions, invigorates blood vessels and relieves asthma. The earthworm lives in and tunnels through soil, which is why it's believed to invigorate blood vessels. It's used to cure rheumatic paralysis. Chinese herbal science believes wind, cold and damp are evil factors. They catch the human body and cause paralysis, including rheumatism, rheumatoid arthritis, lumbar disc protrusion and cervical spondylosis. In China, generations of physicians have dedicated themselves to the cure of paralysis. Renowned physician Zhang Zhongjing, mid-1st century to early 2nd century, recorded a classic prescription, cinnamon soup, in his treatise on febrile diseases and synopsis of prescriptions of the Golden Chamber. The principal herb, cinnamon twig, helps promote yang, invigorates blood vessels and dispels cold. The adjuvants include heat aconite root that removes cold and damp, spicy ginger that wards off pathogenic factors from the exterior, licorice and jujube that reinforce innate vigor. In modern herbal science, two special herbs are added to the drug. One of them is the earthworm. The sun shines pleasantly. The family concludes the day of work. In Chinese herbal science, animals are also important herbs. Animal herbs are referred to as herbs of flesh and affections to honor their decisive role in the evolution of humans. Meanwhile, 1,700 kilometers away, the other animal herb will be found in a thrilling chase. Zigong of Sichuan province is home to dense bamboo forests. Hao Yan-bin and his wife search carefully among the bamboos. Opportunity may come in the blink of an eye. Unfortunately, they failed in the hunter and prey game. The prey is much stronger than they thought. It's a black snake, a sensitive, fast, cold-blooded creature known as the Dark Flash. The black snake is a non-poisonous snake commonly seen in China. Chinese herbal science believes it's sweet in taste and plain in nature and helps disperse pathogenic wind, invigorate blood vessels, and relieve convulsions and spasms. Hao Yan-bin and Len Shuying are famous snake breeders. They need male white garter snakes for reproduction. Today, good luck is with them. The snake is black all over and looks nice. It's perfect. Hao Yan-bin has been in the business for 10 years. They remove the organs from artificially bred garter snakes and coil up the bodies for better heating. The coils are then heated to 70% dry and put out in the sun. This is the process of making top-quality dried garter snakes. On the dispensing table, garter snakes and earthworms meet. The garter snake disperses pathogenic wind from bones, and the earthworm invigorates blood vessels. Their marriage adds new effects to the ancient prescription and brings new possibilities to the treatment of paralysis. Hong Kong is a modern metropolis, but few people know the name Hong Kong has something to do with a herb. Adding agila wood into the incense burner, a mixture of aromas goes up. Agila wood is honored as the scent of all scents. The scent comes from wood which sinks into water. The deeper the wood sinks, the better scent it gives. Agila wood is a herb first recorded in an addendum of famous physicians by Tao Hong Jing. Chinese herbal science believes it promotes the circulation of qi to relieve pain, invigorates digestion to arrest vomiting, and helps inspiration to relieve asthma. Dongguan has long been the origin of genuine agila wood. Merchants ship the wood to Shek Pai Wan via Sim Sha Sui for export to Southeast Asia. Shekpai Wan, veiled with fragrance all the time, was given the name Hong Kong, meaning fragrant port, which was later applied to the whole of Hong Kong. It's rarely known that a gila wood is not simply wood, though it comes from wood. It's born from a marriage of natural elements. 50-year-old Huang O is processing a piece of fine agila wood. He's chiseling the wood. It's said the wood is as valuable as gold. It seems he doesn't care. The white wood chips are not the essence. The essence of agila wood is actually the balsam beneath the surface. It's the balsam that gives the scent. The balsam is the resin resulting from the marriage of fungi and wounded wood over decades, centuries, or even 1,000 years. So far, humans have been unable to replicate time. Agila wood cannot be made artificially. Natural resources are becoming exhausted, thus making agila wood a priceless treasure. But Huang doesn't accept it. Artificial agila wood is a secret kept for 1,000 years in Dongguan. This is a century-old agila wood tree, one of the 300 breeders Huang rescued in the region. Each tree has its particular wounds. People cut wounds in trees or cut off their branches, waiting for the marriage with fungi and the time-consuming yield of resin, which might take decades or centuries. Today is a special day. Huang takes his son to collect special resins. He planted the tree when his son was born. 17 years have gone by till the dark brown comes into being. It's time for the first harvest. After the harvest, new wounds are left on the tree, suggesting the renewal of the marriage. Huang learned this from his grandma.
我跟我外婆的感情很好的，她的这个树啊留在那里呢，左邻右舍，有些病痛的就给一点。我们自己从小到大，肚子痛啊，肠胃不好啊，都是用它来炖汤、煮茶。
For him, agila wood bears the memory of the family. After Grandma died, Huang replanted her tree in his garden. The tree is 400 years old and still produces balsam. In Dongguan, Huang's son starts to carry on his business. Ahead of herbal science are hardships. Yet, with affection and technique, a tiny sparkle will light up the way. Early in the morning, Han Shan sets off. He's searching somewhere far from home.
我们去远方无非就是为了寻找，所以说，无论在他乡还是在故乡。 最重要的是你的心可安。
A grass may give insight to wisdom. When people meet it, they may find the truth of life or be enchanted by the landscape. They may widen their views or capture new opportunities. They may also reach a higher realm and understand the true meaning of destination. All such marriages manifest the very meaning of all lives. Whatever the purpose is, we are approaching somewhere we belong.
Like the vintage wine, it can only get better, and that's what you get on Nigeria's most authoritative, educative and entertainment breakfast show, Morning Ride. Morning Ride, better improved, now comes to you for 1.5 hours every Saturday, 10 to 11:30, with added packages which include the news updates, trending on the social media, in addition to the regulars, just for your viewing delights. And you can catch our repeat broadcast ads. For participation and advert placement, please contact the producer or call our marketing department. Morning Ride. Enjoy a jolly good ride.
are watching NTA2. You are watching NTA2.
It's that time again of true Nigerians, heroes of our time.
A true Nigerian is one who appreciates the greatness of this country.
Who believe in the unity and well-being of Nigeria.
Who will be a good ambassador of this country.
Who is in love with this country.
And has not put any liability or worries on government.
So that posterity will appreciate us.
Help other people to become great Nigerians.
God will judge you by how well you relate to others.
Like this? Like this?
If you give God your life, He will take care of you.
A true Nigerian loves Nigeria.
Hello Nigeria and hello Nigerians. It's that time again of true Nigerians, heroes of our time. A program where we bring Nigerians that are role models, Nigerians that are worth emulating. Today is totally different. It's not the kind of guest you will expect in this program, but it's not about the age. It's about what you have done, what is your contribution, and how you have contributed positively to the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Today, my guest on the program, she's quite young. I call her Your Highness. I'm sure by the time I introduce her, you know why I call her Your Highness. Well, talk is cheap. For the first time on True Nigerians, Heroes of Our Time, I have a very beautiful young lady. And she's not only beautiful, she's intelligent. Why she's on this program. She's also the face of Culture Africa. So you see, she's a queen. I have Oyikome Grace as the face of culture in the whole of Africa. Your Highness, good to have you on the program.
Thank you, sir.
Good to have you on the program. Okay, we have a traditional question, which is, how would you define a true Nigerian?
Okay, thank you very much, sir, for the question. A true Nigerian, first of all, must be a citizen from Nigeria. And before you call someone a true Nigerian, he or she must be patriotic and must have great love for the country Nigeria. One can even be a citizen and still not a true Nigerian. Someone that can actually stand and not defend the country is not a true Nigerian. So a true Nigerian is someone that can defend the country anywhere, anytime. Thank you, sir.
Yes. You know, the part of the answer I like is that you can actually be a citizen of Nigeria and not be a true Nigerian. So because you are a citizen of Nigeria with all your bad attitudes and crimes that you commit, you are not a true Nigerian. You are not supporting this country. That is what she has just said. So don't think because you are from this state or that state of Nigeria, you belong to Nigeria. You don't belong to Nigeria as long as you are not keeping to the laws of the land or the laws of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Thank you very much for that answer.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, no doubt looking at you, I now know why you are the face of Culture Africa. Okay, being the face of Culture Africa, what does culture mean to you? What or let's put it this way, in our various cultures in Nigeria, what do you love most about our culture, and what would you want to remove from the various cultures of Nigeria?
Thank you very much for this question. But first of all, before I go further to think about what I will remove or I would love to add to the culture, I would like to give a little light about what culture means. Culture is actually the totality of people's life. The way they think, the way they eat, and the way they do their things. So that's a little light about culture. And Nigeria is a very beautiful nation. God has actually blessed us with different cultures. And me from Benue State, I can tell you, we have a lot of beautiful cultures. Like the thief man, it's only in Benue State you can meet people eating and join them eating. Wow, so lovely, one Nigeria. And it's only in Benue State, you can just go to any house. You don't need to know me before you will eat from my pot. That's part of the culture. And another cultural attribute in Nigeria is, you can, as a lady, it's very wrong from the Idoma part to be married and then sleeping around with other men. That is what the Idoma people call the Aleku. Aleku gets to disturb their husband. If you find out that your wife is into adultery and then you still eat from her purse and then you still do things with her, you, the man, you will suffer for it. So that's that's a very good culture in Nigeria, which I like. And I can't mention all because they are
You are saying
very...
it's a good culture because of your person, because you are not the kind of woman who wants to cheat after marriage.
Yeah.
But I'm sure for those women who think that after marriage they can still, they will think it's a bad culture.
No.
But go ahead.
Okay. Okay, let me just for personal reasons, but normally it's wrong for you to be married and then sleeping with other persons. It's very, very wrong. So that's a very good culture for me because I love it so much.
No, I agree with you totally.
Yeah, I love it so much. And something I want to pick out of it is the fact that now you are the woman cheating and it is the man that is suffering from it. I wish it would be like you are the woman cheating and you are the one suffering from it. It would have been very lovely. And some other parts of the world, there are some things they do, the kind of clothes they wear, the kind of food they eat. In a way, I think it should be removed because I love Nigeria so much and the cultural attributes. So these are the little things I think we can remove from it. Talking about my state.
When you say the kind of food they eat,
yeah.
like do you have any...
That one now, if I talk about that, it will not look as if it's a personal reason, so I don't want to go there.
I hope you are not talking about the tea people like Gyo.
No. Oh, I love Nyangyo.
Okay. No, there's Gyo. Gyo is is it a millipede or something?
Oh, I'm not talking about that because it has to do with individual difference.
Okay.
So I can only talk about my state because
that's
for a start, I've not gone to other states. So me talking about that state, it will look as if I'm even lying.
Okay.
So that's it.
Okay, well, for me, Sha, if I have my way, I will remove the tradition of marrying many wives at the same time. But it's a tradition. Yeah. Okay, nowadays, there's this concern about tribe languages. Like somebody once said, in the next 100 or 50 years, no Nigerian can speak his language or his dialect anymore because of westernization. These days, everybody's doing daddy, mommy, you know how it is.
Yeah.
The children growing up these days don't know how to speak their language. They don't know how to speak their dialects, unlike before. What's your take on that? How do you think we can...
Thank you. Okay, talking about tribe. Tribe has a lot to do. I'm a student in Benue State, and I'll tell you that going to any office and you can speak the Tiv language, which is your tribe, or the Idoma language, to someone that understands it, believe you me, it gives you the upper hand. And let's take, for instance, I can't speak that language. It's worrisome. I may not get that favor. You know, the language has a very strong effect to we humans. I was so surprised when I went down to our place and I heard my auntie's child, or my auntie calling her child Ella, and I was surprised. Whoa, in the village, Ella. What happens to the Doma names? And that means them too, they're trying to embrace the Western culture, and which is very, very wrong. I think they should start from the home, because children get to grow with what they start with. So if parents get to start it from the home, it will help the children. I was told by my dad that if you want to learn English language, I think the right thing to do is parents should start with their tribes, speaking of their languages to their children at home. Then I think English, that's when westernization can come in. They can go to school and learn English. Definitely, there is no how a child will go to school and not learn how to speak English. But you can't go to school and learn how to speak your language. So it's totally wrong. I think the mentality of our parents these days should change. They should not think the Western culture is better than ours, because we have a very nice and very good culture.
So funky about it.
Yes,
and that's why these days they have. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with it, but that's why they have British school, American international school.
Yes.
Everybody wants his child or his son or daughter or children to go to such schools and come and speak.
Queen's
good morning,
English.
Can I get a cup of coffee?
Are you okay?
Are you okay?
Yeah, you're okay.
You know, but I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that. But you are
all.
very right. Is it that you've always known that you would be a queen one day? How did it start? How did you manage to get to where you are now? Were you expecting it? How was the journey so far to get to this place?
But I love this question. The journey of being a queen. Like, I personally, I grew up from a family where, from the onset, our mentality is being touched. I can't be deceived by someone to tell me that you're not beautiful, because at home, I'm being told I'm beautiful. Even before winning a crown, I'm being called a queen. So that got into my head, and I knew I have all it takes to become a queen. Though I started little.
From when you were small,
that was just the mentality. I was coming up thinking I'm a queen. In fact, I feel I'm the best in my world. Like, if you see me walk with a lot of courage, like, I know, in fact, I'm the most beautiful girl as far as I'm concerned in my world. I'm just the best. So that's the mentality. I did not get other opportunities, maybe because I didn't look for opportunities when I was younger. But when I got to the university, when I was in 200 level, I contested at the departmental level. Though I didn't contest because I wanted to. A friend of mine was like, babe, you can do it. The guy picked the form for me and brought it to my house. And he was like, you must do it. I said I was not going to do it. I agreed, just like 2 days before the time, without proper preparation, though it was funny. But along the line, I contested, and owing to the fact that I already know I'm a queen, my courage on stage was different, because I was feeling myself. I don't know how to express that. But I was already feeling like the confidence, the self-confidence was there. And eventually, or fortunately for me, I emerged as the winner for my department. Even right now in school, my mates will still tell you that even if you're an ex-queen.
As the winner, what did you win?
Miss NESA, that's National Economic Students Association. Yes, so I was the Miss.
It started from school?
It started from school.
That means you're a 2 times queen.
Yes, I am. So it started from there, and I wanted to go further, but I may not say why I didn't go further right now, but I had to go on a break.
What do you mean by further?
Like contesting for more, maybe going for the school level or doing other bigger things. But I had a break due to 1 or 2 reasons. Then I kept mute. A friend of mine again told me about Face of Culture. And I was like, what's this one again? People should leave me. You want to start this year? He said, you go, Joy. You know, anything you do, you win. I was like, yeah, that's true. I know I'm a winner. And then I picked the form. At some point, I felt I was not going to do it because I was feeling I can't do it. Contesting with 30 persons from different states. The confidence was there, but at some point, I had a shake. But I still picked courage. And then I picked the form. And when I picked for my contest, I came down to Abuja from Benue. I came to Abuja for that contest. We were calm.